Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Geek Center. My name is Corey Merced. I am the Right Honorable Geek Minister of the Movie Trivia Face-Off, and what a season it's been in the Geektacular division. I am very pleased to be joined tonight by the number 2 ranked competitor in the Geektacular division. He's none other than Joe Hot Fuzz Farrelly. How's it going tonight, Joe?
Oh, very, very good, Mr. Commissioner. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And right before this, of course, what were you doing? Training. That's what you got to do to compete in the Geektacular division. And Joe, one of our top competitors, and it seems like you're always training or competing somewhere.
In the last 2 days, I have watched The Spirit, The Losers, Jonah Hex, and Red, plus other movies I have seen before.
That is quite a movie marathon, I tell you. A tough one to get through maybe at times, but pretty impressive nonetheless.
The Spirit's pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah. Now,
but
Joe... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Greatest Schmodown moments of all time.
Well, that's true.
4x5.
Yeah, that is very true. My favorite moment, actually, in Schmodown history. Joe, you've managed to check out all the matches we've debuted here in Season 2 of the Geektacular division. What has been your takeaway on the Geek division so far this season?
Well, up until the last match, my takeaway was, wow, we've got a lot of strong competitors here, and the questions just seem to get deeper and deeper cuts into the movies we all know are in this division. And then the last match happened, and the list was revealed, and a lot more movies just got added into this Geektacular division. I think it's going to turn a lot of things in this division on its head.
I think in a good way, too. You can get a little complacent when it's just the main 8 that you have to worry about with some movie quotes and release dates kind of thrown in there. Now you got to worry about everything. Now we've already had Back to the Future a couple of times. We've had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's really a lot of, Terminator's going to be on there, Matrix, all sorts of possibilities for new categories. So as a competitor, does that tick you off a little bit that we expanded the categories, or do you find it exciting that we're kind of pumping new blood into it?
It certainly makes the league more exciting. I mean, having Back to the Future in there was certainly a good thing for me in my last match. But there's certainly a lot of franchises on that list that I have no issues with. I'm just like, okay, I might have to rewatch them just to get the deeper stuff. But in terms of the surface value questions, what happens, names of people, I'm quite happy. But yeah, it might just require a couple of rewatches on 1 or 2 of some of those.
Perfect. And I know a little strategy comes into play now, too. What you want to choose to put on the wheel, which is another new development for this season. We've already had competitors say, I'm going to put a generic category on there because I'm hoping that if they hit it, I can get some steals off it, or something I'm really strong in. And I can tell you this week, in our second match dropping next Thursday, we get our first look at Pirates of the Caribbean as a wheel slice in the MTFO. So I'm very much looking forward to that one.
Well, I don't think I'll ever get my wish of James Bond hitting the Geektacular.
Oh, wow.
It's not fantasy. It's not fantasy or sci-fi, so I'll never argue that it should be. But I would always put that on a wheel if I had the opportunity. But Pirates of the Caribbean, again, movies I've seen more than once, so not too bad.
I think James Bond should almost be its own league at this point. We got a Star Wars league for, 9 movies or 10, 11 movies? There's been way more James Bond movies. I don't sign me up to write for that one, though. That'd be a really tough one.
I'm still waiting for that exhibition.
So you must be pretty ticked off that they moved No Time to Die back to November, huh?
I am. But I can understand why it's been done, but then also it's because of the amount of people that would attend the premiere, and you don't necessarily have to have the big premiere. You can still release it. But I've been waiting long enough. It's been 5 years since Spectre, so I'm sure another 7 months won't matter too much.
There you go. Now, we got a couple of big matches coming up this week, Joe, we want to get your take on. But first, you're training for a match of your own here coming up. You're taking on a stablemate of yours, Mark the Maniac Kamier.
I am. I'm very much looking forward to it. Mark is a member of the League of Shadows, and deservedly so. I could go into about the fact that 2 members of the same faction have been pitted together as soon as the faction gets announced. But looking at the positives, I've got 3 wins, so I've got a good standing for World War Geek. And if I win, I get 4, and if I don't win, then it's just another opportunity for the League of Shadows to take that belt. So, well, looking at it that way, it's not the worst thing in the world.
it's kind of a no-lose scenario. Either Mark gets another opportunity for another slice on that selection wheel for World War Geek to draw a higher number, or you'll be up there with 4, and you'll be the only competitor with 4, because none of the other 3-win competitors have a match before the May event. So this could be a real bonus for you.
I think so. But I would definitely say that Mark is probably, and not even probably, will be the first player to take me to a round 3.
There you go. That's big talk, because you have not been to a round 3 yet, my friend, and that's one of the reasons why. Really, the only reason you're not at number 1 right now.
Yeah, that Robert Parker one still pains me. But everyone loses to Robert Parker, so never mind.
You know, when he's carrying the Inner Geekdom belt in the Schmodown, you won't feel so bad.
No, that's true.
All right.
Maybe one day I'll be able to take that from him.
You never know. You never know. They're looking at the fan leagues, right? With this draft every year, we're going to see more talent moving up. I know. I heard a little something about one of our competitors this week, actually, maybe getting some looks in the Schmodown, and that's Jay the Arsonist Burnz. Of course, he is all over the fan leagues. He runs a Full Metal Classic on Thursday nights for the folks at Full Metal. He's playing teams. He's playing Geek. Came back here. He's been our fill-in guy. Whenever we needed an emergency competitor, Jay is always the first one to step up. He's done it from work while stocking shelves in a cooler.
Yes.
Which is just an unbelievable situation. And that's why everyone's like, why is he ranked so low? Because he had one match and he didn't score very well because he was working at the same time and it was last minute. I have a feeling after this week's match, his numbers are going to improve. He's taking on a rookie by the name of Ethan Naftalin, calls himself the Librarian. So he is completely raw. He's never competed anywhere before. This is his very first fan league match. And Joe, I want you to think way, way back when you were a rookie, never competed anywhere before. What was going through your mind leading up to your first match?
I think when you come into the fan leagues, I think you've watched Schmodown, you've played along at home. I think we've all done that. I think you look at it and say, well, I've answered these questions, I've hit 5 pointers. I can get into this. But I think the second that you see that word live and recording in the corner, all of a sudden you think, well, what if I get asked? You know, I've only seen. What if it's Star Wars and I've only seen Clone Wars once? What if the question's about Clone Wars? What if the question's about Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald? All these ones that are later and they're all deep cuts. And it does all go through your head. And I think if you hit the first one, your first question, if you hit that, I think that it does calm your nerves. So hoping for the right sort of questions to come out for your first match.
We saw it last week with Devontae King, the Hellhound, in his first match. He was taking on Jonathan Peck, and this just on the match that dropped on Thursday. Very nervous to start things off, but once he kind of settled down, he got in round 2, got a category he liked, and hit them all, and made a match out of it. That's
the other key thing. I think the first match, the first round, once you get through that, once you can settle your nerves a little bit with a few right answers, you get into round 2 and you just got to hope for that right spin on the wheel. Again, you still never know what's going to come up, and it could just be some of the deepest cuts you've ever seen in your life. But if it's a category you're strong on, then you can handle the deep cuts.
Yep, absolutely good point. And let's take a look at the wheel that we're going to have for Jay versus Ethan here. As you can see, our main 8 are on there again, as well as spinners and opponent's choice. Jay wanting heroes and villains, while Ethan chose weapons, tech, and magical objects. So both guys, Ethan really wanted Star Wars, which of course is on there. Jay, of course, is strong in pretty much everything, but he, of course, would be hoping for Wizarding World or Middle Earth, probably. Both going for a generic category for their wheel slices. What do you think the strategy is there?
I think, especially with the new categories that have been added, I think these heroes and villains and weapons, technology, magical objects, they can go anywhere. I mean, magical objects, you're pretty confident you know where that's going to come from. But with the others, they could be coming from absolutely anywhere now. And I think maybe the strategy there is looking at, maybe I can force them to go multiple choice, and even if they get it right, they only get 1 point, and if they don't get it right, then that gives me a 1 in 3 chance of getting that steal. I think that's where it's coming from. But even going with Star Wars, it's interesting. I think having played in a few Star Wars matches in other leagues, it can be a risk, because although you know Star Wars and you know those movies, the Star Wars is the exception to the rule, because it's the stuff that's not in the movies is counted. The names of ships, the names of characters who are never named on screen, they're all up for grabs in those questions, and I think that's where it throws a few people.
That's a great point. And if you think the questions are challenging just in a regular geek match, wait until you get into a Star Wars match. They amp it up about 20, and it's obscure stuff that you would never think in a million years. Why would anybody know this? But you got to study it. You got to read all the books. You got to read the comics, watch The Mandalorian and everything on Disney Plus, and really get in depth in these movies. And it's a tremendous amount of studying.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at our #1 ranked competitor in Geek, and you know full well that's where his strength lies. And you have to study it, and you have to know these things if you want to take him on, because if he misses a question and you know it, that is a huge, huge opportunity to steal against someone like that.
Yep, and actually in the last Schmodown Star Wars match, he knew every answer. I think he had to go multiple once or twice, but he knew everything. So that's kind of the bar when it comes to Star Wars. If you can pass the David Garcia bar, you got a shot. But for a
maybe
rookie,
one day I will.
Maybe you will. Yeah, I know your Star Wars knowledge has been improving quite a bit, and I think you and David are really on a collision course after World War Geek to be meeting up here, and that has Match of the Year written all over it.
Well, a little delve behind the scenes. I've trained a lot with David. I've tested a lot of matches with David. The last 2 tests we had, both went down. We both hit our 5-pointers, but I think I'd hit my 3 and he hadn't, and that was the only difference. And the last match we tested, we went 10 questions deep into sudden death. And now I've told you all this, I'm sure once the cameras start rolling, he'll knock me out or something. But
could go the other way too.
They have been very close, our training matches, so that's something I think we both agree that needs to be on screen.
I can't wait. I think if that's not the first match right after World War Geek, I am not doing my job. So expect that one to come down the pike very, very soon.
Well,
so
it might not be, because if one of us has a title after World War Geek,
that's right,
then someone's going to have to earn their way to the other person.
That's very true. You guys would have to be considered early favorites for that title in World War Geek. Some strong competitors breathing down your neck, but maybe Mike the Hype Man Shea, yourself, and David, kind of the upper echelon right now in the Geektacular division.
In terms of the rankings, yes, I think there's a lot of other competitors in there that you can't rule out taking that title. I think Scully is one of them. I think my stablemate in the League of Shadows, Ruben, is also one of those players. I think they are phenomenal Geektacular players and are definitely within a shot of taking that title.
You're absolutely right. Now, getting back to this first match this weekend, I'm going to put you on the spot. Not knowing Ethan at all, and just knowing Jay really from all around the other fan leagues, if you had to put your money on a competitor this week, who's it going to be?
For me, I'm gonna go with Jay. I'm gonna go with the favourite. There's nothing against Ethan. I don't know the gentleman. I don't know what his strengths are. I don't know. He's never played before, and I think the smart money has to be on Jay just for that reason.
I'm not going to pick a favorite in this one just because we taped this late last night, so I already know the results of that one. Got to keep it fair and honest here in the Geektacular division. But we have a second match that's taping tomorrow, and this one's going to be a fun one, even though it's with 2 0-2 competitors. Let's check it out. We've got Nick Big Sal Carley versus Hunter the Sniper Chambliss. Let's look at the tail of the tape. Numbers aren't fantastic. Nick, round 1, batting 35%. Round 2 at 55%. His losses were to Prudvi Raj, and he was TKO'd by TJ the Terror Starman. Looking at Hunter the Sniper Chambliss, also 0-2. His round 1 again, 35%. Round 2, up to 40%. He lost by TKO to both Antonio Chavez, and he was KO'd by the artist formerly known as the Cleaner, Adelaide Spence. So looking at the numbers here, Joe, we could have a very close one coming Sunday.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you look at the identical round 1 statistics, and their round 2, they're not too far off each other at all. And looking at their records, both 0-2, they're both going to be hungry to add a 1 to that win column. I think we could be seeing a hell of a match on our hands here. I think after being 0-2, I think you definitely be studying and practicing and finding any fan league match on YouTube that you can to play along to and try and just improve what you already know. I couldn't, with those records, I would just have to give it to, maybe edge it towards Nick, because he has the better round 2 statistics, but that's the only thing I'm basing that on.
And Nick's also been in round 3 and has answered a couple correct in round 3. That could play in huge if it's a close match going into round 3. Nick, I know, has been entering in classics. He's been studying. He's been training. So he's been working hard up to this. I'm not quite sure if Hunter's been competing in matches up to this as well. I imagine he has been. But I know Nick's been putting in the work. So for that reason, I would be going with Nick Big Sal Carley. This is a very big match for both competitors because it's a qualifying match for World War Greek, obviously. You win and you're in. One win gets you in. So if Nick or Hunter can, when they pull off the victory, already entered into the tournament, I kind of picked Nick as my dark horse candidate to make a run in World War Geek. He's probably going to get one of the first numbers, but I think he's got the skill set that can carry him for a little while in the tournament, or in the match, sorry. And Hunter, you never know. His first 2 matches worked great, especially by looking at the numbers, but Antonio Chavez and Adelaide Spence are pretty tough competitors as well. So he's faced different competition, and you know, you never know how this one's going to turn out. It's kind of a coin flip, but like you, I'm going with Nick Big Sal Carley. Now, you got your match, of course, coming up. Is there any other matches, any other fan leagues coming up for you, Joe?
I believe I'm recording on Monday evening a Jackal Trivia in a Geekcenter match. I'm always trying to sign up for the Full Metal Classic. In terms of other leagues, I also recently had a Star Wars Championship in TMG. Unfortunately for me, that was all of canon, not just the movies, and I missed out on a Clone Wars question, the animated series, which I knew the answer to, but it was just one of those ones that I couldn't pull. And I've just recently become the TMG Late TV Fights champion. So now I have the taste of a title. I just want more.
And I understand after we're done taping this here tonight, you're going to be co-hosting a match for our mutual friend Jimmy Derry.
Yes, we all basically came to this league because of how much we love the Schmodown, and tonight after this, we will be recording a special frenzy, and all the questions will be about the movie trivia Schmodown.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see that one. Joe, I want to thank you very much for joining us this week. Where can the people find you? Do you have a Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anything like that?
Oh, you can always find me on Twitter at Joe Ed Farrelly, mostly tweeting about movies and football, or soccer for those in America, which is most of you.
Great. Thank you very much, Joe. Looking forward to your match with Burt Kmeyer coming up. And of course, as always, good luck in World War Geek. And I'd like to thank you all very much for tuning in this week. And we'll see you next time on Geek Center.
Thank you.